The Cleveland Browns aren't just struggling, they're unraveling. And the deeper you look into what's happening behind the scenes, the clearer it becomes that this meltdown wasn't triggered by one bad pick, one bad game, or even one bad season. What's happening right now in Cleveland is the result of months of narrative building, rumor spinning, and flat-out misdirection. Moves that many fans believe were designed to shape public opinion before the draft and to protect certain voices in the building after it. But the truth has a way of leaking out, no matter how tightly you try to seal the doors. And in Cleveland, those leaks are starting to look like a flood. Because once training camp footage surfaced, once insiders started contradicting their own commentary, and once the Browns' offensive disaster became too obvious to hide, the entire narrative flipped on its head. Suddenly, the same people who helped steer the public in one direction are now sprinting the opposite way, hoping nobody remembers what they said, what they pushed, and what they ignored. But fans remember. The internet remembers. And what's unraveling now has the potential to change the way NFL fans view team media, front office influence, and manufactured narratives. So let's go back, way back, to where this whole disaster started. Because the story of the Browns' meltdown doesn't begin with a game. It begins with the way the city talked about one quarterback long before the draft even arrived. Rumors were everywhere. Certain Cleveland media voices repeatedly suggested that Shedeur Sanders wasn't a top pick, wasn't mature enough, wasn't ready for an NFL locker room. And they didn't say it once. They said it over and over. Every show, every panel, every call-in segment. The same talking points, repeated until they sounded like facts. Reports from inside the team claimed that this narrative didn't develop naturally. Fans started noticing how coordinated it felt. The tone was the same. The wording was the same. The timing was suspiciously tight. And the target, Shedeur Sanders, was always the same. But how did this narrative start? For many fans, the moment everything turned was the speeding ticket incident. One traffic stop, one ticket. And the Cleveland media turned it into a 3-week headline cycle. Debate shows dissected it like a criminal investigation. Social media threads exploded with opinions. Hot take merchants used it to question his maturity, his leadership, his decision-making, as if one speeding violation defined the entire trajectory of his career. It wasn't just coverage, it was fixation. And that fixation raised eyebrows fast. Because 2 weeks later, Myles Garrett was pulled over for the same exact thing. Speeding. A traffic stop. Documented. Real. And the city's reaction? Silence. A quick mention. A single tweet. Then gone. No outrage, no character concerns, no 3-week meltdown. Fans didn't need an investigative report to figure out what was happening. The double standard was too loud, too obvious, too intentional. It felt less like sports journalism and more like strategic framing, lifting one guy up while dragging another down. And while this whole narrative machine was firing on all cylinders, what was Shedeur actually doing? Reports and fan videos showed him in the community, talking to students, visiting schools, speaking to kids who needed a voice, a role model, a spark. And he wasn't making a spectacle out of it. He wasn't inviting camera crews. He wasn't building a PR campaign. He was just showing up. But those stories, they barely made the airwaves. They showed up quietly, briefly, then disappeared. Because one problem with building a negative narrative is simple. You can't highlight the good without destroying the story you're trying so hard to tell.